Welcome to the Hockey Writers Chicks and Sticks, a weekly show hosted by some of our best female hockey writers, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From talking hockey with NHL personalities to tackling the latest big issues, our team covers everything hockey and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some Chicks and Sticks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 23 of Chicks and Sticks, brought to you by the Hockey Writers. My name is Melissa Boyd, and I'm once again joined by my partners in crime, Kristy Flannery, who is back after a one-week hiatus and has lots of stuff to tell us about the Devils in a little bit. And of course, Hannah Garfield and Mariah Stark are with me as well. How are you doing tonight, ladies?
Hi.
Good.
Hello. So if you're enjoying our show, make sure to drop us a like, a follow, or a comment from wherever you're watching or listening. And now, since the, hockey's back, the 2021-22 season is, 3 days old while we're recording. So we've already got lots to talk about, lots of storylines, lots of stuff going on already. So we'll dive right into it right away. We'll dive first. So we thought that with the new season, our new tradition on Chicks and Sticks would be to start the show with a little bit of a recap and a sort of what's to come for each of our respective teams that we cover here at the Hockey Writers. So we'll start with Kristy, who, since she had the week off, we'll get her right back to work. So talk to us about the Devils. For those of you who don't know, Kristy is actually accredited this season with the Devils, which is really awesome. So that's why I'm putting her first, because I'm sure she has lots to tell us while she's wearing her Predators cap, which is
balance. It's called balance in life. Predators are playing tonight, Devils still have a day off. The big storyline for the Devils this season is obviously going to be Dougie Hamilton. We talked about him all off season. All eyes will be on him, Jack Hughes, and Nico Hischier. As far as preseason went, the big storyline was actually the two youngsters, Dawson Mercer and Alexander Holtz. Holtz did not make the team, which did not make a lot of fans happy, but Dawson Mercer is making his NHL debut tomorrow. So that is very, very exciting. Blackwood is most likely not going to be in goal tomorrow as his heel is healing. But yeah, so far we'll see if this team can improve to any degree. Any kind of improvement at all would be great.
I'm sure there will be improvement. I'm not worried.
There's nowhere to go but up when you're at the bottom.
That's right. Mariah, Minnesota, what's been going on?
Well, Boldy fractured his ankle last week and he is out, I believe, 4 to 6 weeks. So that was one of the hopefuls fans wanted to see. And the other one, Rossi, is sent to the AHL. So both of their big names that everyone wanted to see playing are not. And I was kind of surprised. I was hoping to see Adam Beckman, which I actually just had an article about him, but where was I going? Oh yeah, Brandon Duheim is actually going to be on the lineup, and so is Rem Pitlick, who I talked about last week, and we'll see. I don't think fans are going to be extremely happy, but the coaches seem to know what they're doing, so I'm just going to kind of wait and see what happens. We still have Kaprizov, so that's what matters.
I was going to say that. I'm like, it's okay. Everything's fine as long as you have Kaprizov.
The storyline, the tagline of the Minnesota Wild this season, at least we have Kaprizov.
Oh, Hannah came back. Look at that.
I don't know what happened.
Just in time.
Just like
Yeah, I was talking to you and I realized you weren't moving, so I moved on to Hannah there quickly, or to Mariah, sorry. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Hannah. Tell us about the Bruins and what's been going on.
Okay. All right. Well, the Bruins haven't played yet because they don't play till Saturday, which, can we just talk about how weird this schedule has been? I don't get how the season started on Tuesday and so many teams aren't playing until Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
I feel like the schedule makers, are a little rusty after last season. But again, there's not many surprises with the Bruins and their final roster cuts.
Jack Suniga, who was, kind of the big storyline, another young player that people were excited about, did not make the roster, which, while it's a little sad because we would love to see a young guy, make the team and, bring some excitement, it really does make sense because it's better for him to be playing top line minutes in Providence than playing on the wing when he's naturally a center in the bottom six. So it makes sense even if people were really excited for him. And he had such a great preseason, which was fun. The biggest surprise was Chris Ragner, who got waived and is now playing down in Providence, which was kind of it's surprising and not surprising at the same time. After a really, really good season in 2018-2019, where he won the seventh man award in Boston, he has not had has had a string of bad seasons in 2019-2020 and 2020-21. So while it hurts because he is, he's from Walpole, Massachusetts, which that means nothing to any of you, but that's the town right next to where I grew up. It's local. Like, you want to cheer for the local guy to do well in Boston, but it does make sense for him to at least spend some time in Providence and give, younger guys like Carson Kuhlman a look in the NHL.
Yeah, well, the Canadiens are actually the only team of the four who have played a game, and actually they're playing right now as we're recording game number 2. So your right hand on the schedule is a little bit weird. So the reigning Stanley Cup finalists lost their season opener to the Toronto Maple Leafs 2-1. It was a good game overall. Obviously a little bit of rust, a little bit of execution deficiencies, we'll put it that way, but a solid effort to start. So hopefully they can get back on the winning track against the Sabres. Well, we'll talk about it a bit later, so I won't really go in, but obviously the big news in Montreal this week was the signing of Nick Suzuki to an 8-year extension. And also, I talked about it last week, but we're without Carey Price at the moment. So that's another big challenge, and the injuries just seem to keep piling up. So we'll see. They'll be tested out of the 8, but if they can survive this first month or so, they might have a chance to make the playoffs. And well, I guess a bit like all of you have covered on a bit the young players, the story out of to start the preseason was Ryan Poehling, who did not make the team and was sent to Laval 2 days ago, the AHL affiliate of the Canadiens. So just did not have a good enough camp, wasn't able to assert himself, but it seems like he's in good spirits, and I'm sure he'll be back up with the Canadiens before long. So yeah, well, actually the Suzuki news kind of leads me into our second topic of the night, I should say, contract extensions, because there were a lot of them this week. Actually 2 announced just today. So Ryan Pulock signed for 8 years with the Islanders, and Brady Tkachuk, the last remaining restricted free agent of this year, finally re-signed with the Senators, a big 7-year deal with an AAV of over $8 million. So great news for Ottawa fans, though. That's a big news for them. And also the Suzuki 8-year extension, and also another great news out of Florida for the Panthers. They locked up their franchise player, Alex Barkov, for 8 years as well. So lots of money being thrown around this week. So I want to get your thoughts on those contracts. We'll start with Mariah. We'll go with you first.
It's a lot of money in a lot of years. We kind of talked a little bit before the show about this, that the 8-year deals, it's just kind of like, you kind of cringe when you see 8 years. Honestly, I think for each team, put the 8-year aside, the fact that they signed each player is great, because I was looking at each player's stats and they have remarkable amount of points for each of them, and most of them are fairly young. So I mean, if they can lock these players up for that and keep them, and they keep producing like that, it's going to be really good for each team, especially Montreal with Suzuki. I saw that and I was like, oh, Mel's gonna be excited.
Yeah, that was a lot of people were hoping that would happen sooner rather than later. Hannah, what were your thoughts on those deals?
Well, we all know I have a lot of thoughts on when it comes to contracts. I think Mariah said it pretty well. The 8 years, I just personally hate 8-year contracts for anyone over the age of 24. I think they age badly either for the player or the team. I think it's too much time committed. I don't like 8-year deals. So to see so many of them this week were really, I was not a fan. I guess the only one that really makes a ton of sense is Suzuki and Brady Tkachuk, because they are young guys. They're the future of those teams. So I get teams signing those guys to 8-year deals. I don't get Zibanejad. I don't get Barkov. They're all central important players to those teams. And if that's what they wanted, then you do have to kind of concede in that aspect. But player contracts they're so fascinating and so interesting. But yeah, no, I think all of them this week, the money, not so much the money is surprising because again, these are all central players to these teams. It's the length that continues to surprise me on a lot of these deals in recent weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for mentioning Zibanejad. I forgot to include him in my little intro, so thanks. But 8 years is a long time. Kristy.
How do you expect me to follow up for Hannah? Like, you can't follow up for Hannah when you talk about contracts.
Sorry, I should always leave her for last. Apologies.
She either has to go last or first, so we can just say, please see above. I feel like the NHL hired Oprah to just start handing out 8-year contracts like they're cars. I really just don't understand. I do agree that there are certain players that you need to lock up for a long period of time. But again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but did we not learn anything from Suter and Parisi's contract with Minnesota? Did we not learn? Like everyone's so psyched about these players, and then it's going to come to a point where it's going to be like, oh, it's kind of like if they, no, I'm with Hannah. It's just,
are you just going to keep using Minnesota as the fallback for that?
I can't think of another time where like a long-term contract really just kind of like blew up in the team's face. Like that's the only. Go ahead.
Didn't Florida sign Matheson to like 8 years and then traded him after like 2 or 3?
I guess Bobrovsky would be a good example.
Bobrovsky's a good example.
He's a good example. I apologize to Minnesota Wild fans everywhere. I'm going to start using Bobrovsky as my example.
Like, give us a little bit of a break. Come on.
Well, I will say one thing that I think that those Minnesota deals did was they enforced that, they impose like an 8-year max. Because I think their contracts were 15 years or something crazy.
Yeah, so like they're a good example. I'm sorry. I love Minnesota, but it's a good example to use.
And it did just happen, so
it's the most, yeah. But we'll all switch gears. Florida fans might not like me, but I'll start using Bobrovsky as an example.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's always scary. But I mean, like you said, I understand. Obviously, like in the case of Florida, for example, they need to lock up Alexander Barkov. They cannot afford to lose him.
No.
So it's kind of like, okay, well, this is what it is. He is one of the best players in the NHL, probably the most underrated player in the league too. So, but
the Rangers don't make sense.
No, that one was a bit, that one's gonna hurt. I feel the Zibanejad one is gonna hurt.
Yeah, I thought the 8-year deals meant he was going to become captain, and then
you're like, oh, okay, you're locking up your captain. That makes total sense. And then you're like, wait a minute, you have so much youth that's going to come up, that's going to need big contracts, and he's the one you signed to 7 or 8 year deal. That makes no sense to me.
And instead they named 8 assistant captains.
It was 6 now. It was 6.
Might as well be. What's the difference?
I'd say that's a lot of captains. Come on.
A lot of chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah. But what are they going to do when Adam Fox needs a deal? Because as we've seen, these defenseman deals are getting so big. And they have, the Rangers are really backing themselves into a corner here.
Yep.
Well, I was going to mention Oh, sorry, Kristy. I
No,
was going to
go ahead.
mention, Hannah, that we'll probably soon be talking about your stud defenseman in Boston, because it sounds like Charlie McAvoy is about to secure the bag, as they say. The rumors are that he's about to sign a long 8-year huge defenseman contract. So I can't wait to talk to you about that when
She just
that
looks away.
No, I love Charlie McAvoy. He is 24 though, so if he does sign I wouldn't love an 8-year deal, but at least will finish up when he's still in his early 30s.
Yeah.
I still think a 6-year deal is like prime for like your central pieces.
Well, I was just gonna mention, like, what I say all the time is often with these long-term deals, you're paying for what the player has already done, but at least in the case of Tkachuk, Suzuki, and hopefully McAvoy, you're going to be paying for what they're going to become, which is obviously the better side of the coin to be on in this case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's like a lot of money for young 20-year-olds. It's like, it's crazy to think that they're just like, here's $60 million.
Yeah, where's my 8-year deal?
Yeah. So our next topic is actually another contract extension, but this time a coach. So the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion coach, Jon Cooper, was signed to an extension this week by the Tampa Bay Lightning. And actually a few weeks ago, for those who didn't hear, they also signed their general manager, Julien Brisebois, to a contract extension as well. So they've taken care of 2 important pieces of business. But what I wanted to know, because it gets talked about a lot, and we always talk about, coaches who are on the hot seat, or, that sort of coaching carousel or coaching sort of hierarchy. What I wanted to know is from you guys is, do you think that Jon Cooper is the best coach in the NHL? Considering the team he gets to coach, he's pretty lucky. Hannah, what do you think?
I think he's definitely one of the best coaches in the NHL. I think it's really hard to name just one person who's the best coach in the NHL, because I think it is subjective, because is it the guy who gets along best with the players? Is it just the guy with the best record, but there's no team that has the best record every single season. The Lightning, they've won the Stanley Cup the past 2 years, but last year they didn't have the best record. So is that coach the best record, or is it just winning? What is? I mean, obviously winning the Stanley Cup is the most important thing at the end of the day, but I think he is definitely one of the best, and the Lightning were very smart to lock him up for some more years, but I am reluctant to call anyone the best coach in the NHL.
Well said. She's staying diplomatic on this. Kristy, what do you think? Where does he rank Jon Cooper?
I am not going to be. I'm taking a completely opposite approach, because when I look at Tampa and what they've accomplished, yes, I agree. Jon Cooper is probably top 5 best coach in the league, but I think Yzerman had a lot to do with putting those pieces together and building that team. Because if you watch Moneyball, I didn't realize until after I watched Moneyball how important like a general manager is to a team. So I credit a lot of Tampa's success to Yzerman. I will die on the mountain that Barry Trotz and Quenneville are the best coaches in the league.
Yeah, I agree with you about Trotz for sure.
Yeah, the Florida Panthers are relevant right now.
Yeah,
that's Coach Q.
Mariah, what do you think?
So obviously I agree with both of them. And I will say for Cooper, obviously he's doing something right. They've won the cup the last 2 years. Granted, you can't blame. What am I trying to say? You can't credit just the coach for that. There's players, like Kristy said, the general manager. It's the team. Yes, obviously you have to have good leadership and a coach, and he's doing great with that. But there are also other great coaches in the league. I don't think you can just choose one. Like Hannah said, there's multiple. And he's one of those multiple. So he deserved his extension and everything, and so did their general manager, because they are doing something right. I just can't say the best, and I can't really pick anyone that is strictly just the best.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. I think one thing though I will say is he is under immense pressure to perform with that roster. So I will give him credit for taking a roster full of talent and making them be able to play, like cohesively and work together. And, because it's easy to have star players and some of them have, a bit of, attitude and things like that. So I will give him credit that he's been able to manage all those expectations. And like he's also going to be the coach of Team Canada at the Olympic Games. Obvious choice, of course. But he seems to be good at that, taking the star players and having them buy into whatever he's selling is working. So I'll give him credit for that. But I agree, there are coaches that are equally as good. You mentioned them, Kristy, I think for sure they fall in there. What a performance by Pittsburgh out of the gate, beating Tampa 6-2, I think it was. So impressive start for them. I think
without Malkin and Crosby.
Yeah, and it's funny. Because we've talked about it on the show before about how much that Tampa is going to miss their third line, and I think it already showed in Game 1. Usually they were relied on to give them a bit of boost and energy when they needed it, and you just saw that it just wasn't there. And I just wanted to bring that up because I was surprised by the performance, and also surprised by Pittsburgh's performance also.
Danton Heinen, former Bruin.
Well, and that was what was cool about it too, is that like all the underdogs kind of scored and left their mark. So yeah, Danton Heinen and Brian Boyle, like how cool was that? And for people like that. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. Sorry. So the last topic I wanted to cover was, well, now that the season is underway, we're 2 days in. What I wanted to know what you girls are following to start the year. It doesn't have to necessarily be your own teams, but what are you looking forward to? What have you seen already that's cool or that you're excited about? Just let me hear it. I want to hear it. Kristy, we'll start with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I will be focusing on how a lot of these players are doing like first year of their 8-year contract to see if they're kind of marketing themselves as expected or higher or lower. I got tickets for the stadium game in Nashville. So I'm really curious to see how Nashville is going to do this season, because they're on the borderline of a rebuild, but like not a creative rebuild, I think is that what we're calling it. So I'm curious to see how they do. I just want to see it all. I want to see it all. I want to see everything. I want to see how LA does. I want to know how the rookies do, in Anaheim. I just want to see it all.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a bit of like sensory overload to start.
Yeah, it's too much.
You're like, oh, wait, what? There's so much going on. Mariah, what are you watching?
So obviously Kaprizov, but that's besides the point. Seattle. I watched their first game against Vegas, mainly because I thought they were in Seattle, so I wanted to see the big show they were going to do. But I was like, I'll keep it on anyway. They surprised the heck out of me. They were really good. I was really excited they're a really hyped up team. Yeah, they still lost, but I'm excited to see how they do it. I'm going to keep watching them.
It's a good comeback, though.
It was.
Very much.
Vegas was pretty surprised, I think.
Yeah. And well, I will say you were looking forward to the show, but actually Vegas put on a pretty good one.
They always
did.
They're so smart.
Their inaugural, I thought it was really cool what they did.
Yeah.
They're selling the Vegas experience, and it's like, oh, and there's a hockey game too. That's what their marketing team is doing.
They're so smart.
They are.
They had someone, they had someone on the broadcast who said like that they went to a game a couple of years ago or whatever for their first time, and their friend was like, hey, well, we have to get there half an hour early. And he's like, why? Like, oh, you have to get there early because the show is like the best part.
The Vegas show starts before the hockey game. That's what we're here for.
Gotta watch the show. Hannah, what are you watching for?
Well, they all
game.
took mine. No, because I'm curious about Seattle, because I think everyone's a little curious about Seattle, because obviously Vegas's inaugural season was just such a good, cool story. So it'll be interesting to see if Seattle can do half of what they did. I'm also curious about all these, these young players who just signed these big deals, because like Mel said, they're being signed for what they can be versus what they have done, which I think it's a little bit of a different model than we've seen before. Well, it's not like new, but like it's, I feel like we saw it happen much more this off season than we have in the past. So I'll be interested to see how those turn out. And if they really, does Brady Tkachuk take the next step this season? Does Nick Suzuki take the next step this season and really start to live up to these big contracts that they just signed?
Yeah, that was going to be mine as well. It's all these young players, and even like the rookies that are coming in, like already there's been some really cool, like first NHL goal moments, like Hendricks Lapierre last night in Washington. Like, it was off, he had, posters of Alex Ovechkin in his room when he was a kid, and now he's playing with him and he's sitting on the bench with him celebrating his first goal. I thought that was really cool. Mason McTavish out of Anaheim scored his first goal. So already, like, these young players are already leaving their mark, and they're not even these established young players yet. So yeah, for me, that's what I'm looking for, is the continued influx of young talent coming into the league, for sure.
If you ever want a good cry, watch like YouTube compilation videos of parents reacting to their kids' first NHL goal. Gets me every time.
Connor McDavid's grandmother was at the Oilers home opener last night, and she was like hilarious, so cute. Like she was like trying not to react too much, but like following, and it was so cool. It was the first time I've ever seen her at a game, so I thought that was pretty funny.
It's so cute.
Well, I can't believe that's already a wrap on the show this week. It goes by so fast, especially now that we have actual games and hockey to talk about. It seems like we have enough content every week for about an hour, but we'll keep it short and sweet. So thanks as always for watching and listening. We really appreciate it. And again, as I mentioned off the top, if ever you have a question that you'd like us to answer, or you're curious about something, please let us know. We're always looking for, fun and interesting topics to talk about. And thanks to you ladies, as always, for joining me. It's a blast every week. Can't wait for the season. I know we're going to have so much to follow. We already do, as we just talked about. So it'll be a lot of fun to do this with you girls every week. And make sure that you're following us all over. We're everywhere. The Hockey Writers is everywhere. Discord, social media. We have the Morning Skate newsletter that you can sign up for at morningskate.io. We have shows dropping every day, sometimes 2 a day, on our YouTube channels and on your favorite podcast platform. So be sure to check that out. And of course, visit our website, thehockeywriters.com, to read all of our articles and all the coverage of our respective teams. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.